Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome. My name is Courtney Custer. I am today's worship associate. I am wearing a jade ruffly shirt with a braid in my hair and my backpack slung over my shoulder for today's blessing of the backpacks. My pronouns are she, her. Welcome to First Unitarian Church, where our mission is to explore the eternal, nurture community, and pursue the common good. We welcome you in your brokenness and in your wholeness, no matter who you have been, who you are, or who you are becoming. We greet you today with love. I'd like to extend a special welcome to everyone who is watching us on YouTube this morning. Please introduce yourself in the comments and let us know where you're joining us from. If in Oklahoma City, what neighborhood are you in? If elsewhere, what city are you in? Throughout the summer, we're featuring guest and lay-led services. Today, our service is led by our Director of Lifespan Religious Exploration, Tim Atkins. Welcome to Oklahoma City, and now the prelude prepares us for worship. All right, now is the time in our service where we light our chalice, and David Moore is our chalice lighter this morning. We light our chalice in Midtown, Oklahoma City, on land that was home to first Americans, including the Apache, Caddo, and Wichita, on land that was taken from the Muskogee and Seminole and other removed and relocated peoples. We light the chalice as a symbol of our sacred time together. The burning chalice represents the light of reason and science, the warmth of loving community, the cleansing heat of justice, and the flame of hope.
Good morning. Good morning. So my name is Tim Atkins, and I serve as your Director of Lifespan Religious Exploration. I'm wearing a rainbow gingham shirt, a purple and black striped tie. I'm with patterns this morning. and a lovely stole presented to me by Reverend Diana. And my pronouns are he, him. Today, we're going to learn more about the new Article 2 our denomination passed over the summer, and what Theodore Parker, one of our most eminent theologians, would have thought about the idea. But we begin with our call to worship this morning, written by Esther Hurlburt. It is not always easy to find love at the center. There is not a set of easy instructions numbered 1 through 7, or maybe 8. It is not always easy to find love at the center. Today, in Covenant, we celebrate our living tradition, which invites us to take deep breaths of fresh air into the newness of every day, so our minds, hearts, and spirits will be continually nourished. It is not always easy to find love at the center. So for today, we gather in Covenant to celebrate the reality that love is at the core of our beings, and that love will guide us if we open ourselves to the challenges which love requires of us. May we accept this challenge with dignity and grace. And now please rise or body or in spirit and join us in singing hymn number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. And we're singing all the verses, all of them.
Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Don't be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
One more.
Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
I would now like to invite all of our children and youth who brought their backpacks to join us kind of down here in the center area. So our children and youth who brought your backpacks, come on down. If you want, you can just sit on the steps or stand in the center. It's fine. We got a few more coming. All right. I should have prepped some music to play for this part. Okay, so would everyone, now children, youth, and adults, folks at home on YouTube, lift up the bags you brought for a blessing up into the air. Come on. Now take a moment to look around. A whole bunch here. All right. We carry bags with us throughout the week for many, you can put them down if you want. We carry bags with us throughout the week for many reasons. Some of us takes books and homework to school. Some of us bring our lunches to school or to work. Some of us take computers and other supplies to the places where we work. Some kids carry overnight bags from one parent's house to their other parent's house and back again. Some people bring things like books or yarn and knitting needles to places where they might need to wait patiently. And some people even have special bags for their dogs or other animals. Even when you are away from First Unitarian OKC, you carry the heart of Unitarian Universalism wherever you go. Today, we bless these bags that accompany us on the journey. So go ahead and give your bag a hug as we participate in our shared blessing. There are words in the order of service, but you'll be able to follow along pretty well as well.
Repeat after me. We bless these bags in the name of interdependence.
We bless these bags in the name of interdependence.
May we always feel connected to our church community, feel connected to the UU faith, and connected to our grand universe.
No, you don't need to
You don't have to repeat that.
Repeat after me. We bless these bags in the name of pluralism. May we always remember to honor and respect people for who they are, even if they are different. And may we keep our minds open to new ideas.
May we bless these bags in the name of justice.
We bless these bags in the name of justice.
May we always remember to act based on our values, to look out for others, and to include all voices in our decision making.
We bless these bags in the name of transformation.
We bless these bags in the name of transformation.
May we grow and transform throughout the year, becoming more ourselves every day, and may we embrace new ideas and new learning.
We bless these bags in the name of generosity.
We bless these bags in the name of generosity.
May we both experience the generosity of our community and remember to be generous with others.
We bless these bags in the name of equity.
We bless these bags in the name of equity.
May we remember that we are all inherently worthy, and each of us, including ourselves, has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion.
We bless these bags in the name of love.
We bless these bags in the name of love.
May you always remember that you are loved here at First Unitarian Church. May you remember to love yourself and to love each other. May you keep love at the center of all you do.
So we have some charms that I forgot to grab an example of, Courtney. So if you could hold one up, we will be passing these out to all of our children and youth up here, and then we will have some for adults in Daniel Hall after the service. These charms are to remind you of the support of this community. Transforming can be hard. And when times are hard, hold this charm and remember that you can rely on this church and rely on our shared values. You bring our values with you wherever you go. Now, your bag might not look any different or feel any different, but the next time you use your bag, I hope you will remember that we've added our blessings. And as you pack your bag with all the tools you need to do your daily work, think about the blessings and values you bring with you from your church community. And may you all have an amazing school year. Let's give them a round of applause. So amen and blessed be. As a reminder, we will have more tags, and we will also have more tags for those who could not be here during our in-gathering service as well. And now, if our children are all tagged up, it looks like we are going to sing our children and youth off to their summer religious exploration classes. Follow this in. Go now in peace. Surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the Spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Thank you.
Okay, today's reading. Today's reading is a selection of the Transient and the Permanence by Theodore Parker. Our reading today is an excerpt from Theodore Parker's sermon, The Transient and the Permanent in Christianity, delivered at the ordination of Reverend Charles C. Shackford in Hawes Place Church in Boston in May 19, 1841. Let us look at this matter a little more closely. In actual Christianity, that is, the portion of Christianity which is preached and believed, there seems to have been, ever since the time of its earthly founder, two elements, one transient and the other permanent. The one is the thought, the folly, the uncertain wisdom, the theological notions, the impiety of man. The other, the eternal truth of God. These two bear perhaps the same relation to each other that the phenomena of the outward nature, such as sunshine and cloud, growth, decay, reproduction, bear to the great law of nature, which underlies and supports them all. As in that case, more attention is commonly paid to the particular phenomena than to the general law. So in this case, more is generally given to the transient in Christianity than to the permanent therein. It must be confessed, though, with sorrow, that transient things form a great part of what is commonly taught as religion. An undue place has often been assigned to forms and doctrines with too little stress laid on the divine life of the soul, love to God and love to man. Religious forms may be useful and beautiful. They are so whenever they speak to the soul and answer a want thereof. In our present state, some forms are perhaps unnecessary, but they are only the accident of Christianity, not the substance. They are the robe, not the angel, who may take another robe, quite as becoming and useful. One sect has many forms, another none. Yet both may be equally Christian, in spite of the redundance or the deficiency. Anyone who traces the history of what is called Christianity will see that nothing changes more from age to age than the doctrines taught as Christian and insisted on as essential to Christianity and personal salvation. What is falsehood in one province passes for truth in another. The hearsay of one age is the orthodox belief and only infallible rule of the next. Compare the simpleness of Christianity as Christ set forth on the Mount with what is sometimes taught and accepted in that honored name, and what a difference. One is of God, one is of man. There is something in Christianity which sects have not reached, something that will not be won, we fear, by theological battles or the quarrels of pious men. Still, we may rejoice that Christ is preached in any way. The Christianity of sects, of the pulpit, of society, is ephemeral, a transitory fly. It will pass off and be forgotten. Some new form will take its place, suited to the aspect of the changing times. Each will represent something of the truth, but no one of the whole. Such, then, is the transient, and such the permanent in Christianity. What is of absolute value never changes. We may cling round it and grow to it forever. No one can say his notions shall stand, but we may all say the truth, as it is in Jesus, shall never pass away. And yet there are always some religious men who do not see the permanent element, so they rely on the fleeting. And what is also an evil, condemn others for not doing the same. They mistake a defense of the truth for an attack upon the Holy of Holiest, the removal of a theological error for the destruction of all religion. Already, men of the same sect eye one another with suspicion and lowering brows that indicate a storm, and like children who have fallen out of their play, call hard names. Now, as always, there is a collision between these two elements. The question puts itself to each man: will you cling to what is perishing or embrace what is eternal? The question each must answer for themselves. There ends the reading. And now our call for offering. Every Sunday, we take an offering. Since 2002, all of the cash and designated checks from that offering have gone directly to external nonprofit organizations doing good work in the world, our Change for Change partners. For the month of August, our Change for Change partner is the Girl Scout Troop 3115 for the Classen School of Advanced Studies Middle School Food Bank. Classen SAS Middle School provides weekly and as-needed food from their food bank to families and students. The regional food bank partners with the Classen SAS Middle School to accomplish this. Each year, the Girl Scout Troop 3115 provides food for a Thanksgiving dinner for 10 to 20 people from the school. The troop members plan and deliver the special Thanksgiving meal to each of the Classen families that request help celebrating this holiday. Our collection will be used to buy food for these Thanksgiving meals. For those of you who are with us in the sanctuary today, in just a moment, we'll be passing the offering plates. If you're watching us online, please make your gift by sending a check to First Unitarian. Just write Change for Change in the memo line, or make an online payment through our website, oneuc.org. Thank you. You might notice in your order of service that that offering was written by Ellie. Okay, I am giving a reflection today. It is not my reflection. Scott Harvey was ready to be the worship associate today. He couldn't be here today, so I am Scott Harvey now. These are Scott Harvey's words. Okay, Scott Harvey. When I first visited this church, Scott Harvey, I was immediately enchanted by the liberal theology. I was blown away that there was a congregation of people who rejected the conservative consensus as to what Christianity meant. I joined the second Sunday I visited. Dr. Richard Allen was the minister at the time, and I relished in the thought of listening to him debunk some of the persistent right-wing theology that was leaking into our politics. Once, after televangelists Tim, Jim, and Tammy Faye Baker built a Christian-themed water park, theme park, and residential complex in South Carolina, Dick presented us with the idea that he was going to open a UU theme park with such rides as Transcendental Train Ride Through Evolution Land. Being able to play around with the things is part of the process here. The impermanence of things, the details, they take on a life of their own. Imagine the possibilities. For instance, we could have Heretics Hill, an interactive journey that explores the wisdom of famous heretics. Like Arius, who thought that Jesus was not co-eternal with the Father, Arianism was so threatening that the Council of Nicaea was held to nail down something with certainty. Or how about Universalist Utopia, a place you could go to receive encouragement and healing from the incredibly destructive notion that God is a threatening figure. Or Humanist Haven, an inclusive and welcoming environment that celebrates human potential, reason, and compassion. I'm opposed to teaching the Bible in classrooms, but imagine if we were asked to provide our input on what the curriculum would be. It would be tempting to default to the Jefferson Bible with all of the miracles expunged. Personally, I think that takes too much out and ignores the fact that there were tons of healers and miracle workers back then. Just acknowledging that fact removes some of the woo-woo from Jesus' persona. As extraordinary as he might have been, he was a human being just like us. I would love to tell children that the first 5 books of Genesis were not written by Moses, who, by the way, was probably a composite figure of several different people. No, there were at least 4 different writers of this book, often referred to as the Yahwist, Elohist, Deuteronomist, priestly and sources. This book was compiled and edited over several centuries. How many editors? Countless. I would love to tell the public school children and private school children that Mark is likely the oldest gospel, and the earliest ending for Mark just showed an empty tomb, nothing more. If asked to teach, we could adapt the contributions of the Jesus Seminar to educate people everywhere on how sacred texts were written, rewritten, and eventually frozen in time. But all texts are alive and evolve over time because it's not so easy to camouflage the transient as a permanent part of the religious faith. Parker knew the Bible was full of myths, stories, and narratives that were not a pure historical account. This all boils down to the question of authority. Homo sapiens can't help themselves. We want certainty in an uncertain world, when we'd all be better off staying clear-eyed about overreaching theological claims. The transient and the permanent are absolutely still with us. But the people who want to force a literal interpretation of the Bible down our throats don't realize is that controversy can shed a light on long, unexamined dogma. And, well, as we know, most dogma contains serious problems like false hope, misconceptions, fallacies, myths, in addition to historical counts and parabolic thinking. I don't know about you, but I would gladly trade certainty for the richness of exploring the unknown, embracing the unexpected, and unraveling the mysteries of life of which we participate and create a better world. Thank you to the words from Scott Harvey.
So the accompaniment I'm about to use was previously recorded by Sue Hakel, and one of the reasons I love this file is if you listen, you can still hear her humming along when she plays. A little girl used to live down this road where she moved to nobody knows. So afraid of growing up too fast, trying her hardest to make each day last. Just because I get older doesn't make me old. Even Grandpa can still act like a kid, I'm told. There's no use sitting around wasting time, letting life pass me by. I can see one more sunrise and one more dawn, one more chance to let life go on, one more day to try and be who you've always wanted to be. When I can spend one more day out in the sun, playing with my friends, just having fun. I won't ever let my life pass me by. When I can see one more sunset, one more day alive. 9 years later, there lived two friends whose high school days were coming to an end. One was headed for college in another state. A job here in town was the other's fate. Just 2 weeks to graduation day, neither of them knew just what to say. Till one said, "Why are we sitting around? Let's go out on the town. We can see one more sunrise and one more dawn, one more chance to let life go on, one more day to try and be who we've always wanted to be. And I can spend one more day with my best friend before this chapter of our lives end. One more day before we have to say goodbye. And we can see one more sunset, have one more day alive. One more day, every moment that we make. One more day, every chance that we take to do what we're meant to do and say what we're meant to say. Don't let go of one more day. The doctors told her she didn't have long. Her body was weak, but her heart stayed strong. She never let it bring her down. I don't think I ever saw Mama frown. I remember how she used to say that everyone's gotta go someday. There's no use sitting waiting for your time and letting life pass you by when you can see one more sunrise and one more dawn, one more chance to let life go on, one more day to try and be who we've always wanted to be. When I can spend one more day with those I love before I'm called home to that world above. Life's too short to let it just pass us by. When we can see one more sunset, one last beautiful sunset, one more sunset, one more day alive.
Now is the time in our service for our prayer and meditation, although I think we may have just heard one. I invite you to settle in comfortably and to close your eyes. And let's take 3 deep breaths together. 1, 2, and 3. Spirit of life, known to us by many names and by none, we give thanks for being together this day. We give thanks for all the joys and our heartbreaks, for all the pains of our community, those both spoken and left unsaid in our collective hearts. May all in need of healing from our community and beyond find peace, healing, and overwhelming love in this spiritual home. I invite you to speak the names of any who are on your heart today. Marcia. Thank you. I now invite you to hold hands or touch elbows for these words by Reverend Erica Hewitt. The hand in yours belongs to a person whose heart is sometimes tender, whose skin is sometimes thin, whose eyes sometimes fill with tears, and whose laughter is a beautiful sound. The hand you hold belongs to a person who is seeking wholeness and trusts that you are doing the same. As you leave this sanctuary, may your hearts remain open, may your voices stay strong, and may your hands remain outstretched. Amen, and blessed be. So a secret when you are leading worship or volunteering with worship is you get to pick which hymns you love. And so we are going to be singing one of my personal favorite hymns, even though it doesn't really go with the theme. It's hymn number 126, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing.
Come thou fount of every blessing, tune our hearts to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. While the hope of life's perfection fills our hearts with joy and love, teach us ever to be faithful. May we still thy goodness prove. Come thou fount of every vision, lift our eyes to what may come. See the lion and the young lamb dwell together in thy home. Hear the cries of war fall silent, feel our love glow like the sun. When we all serve one another, then our heaven is begun. Come thou fount of inspiration, turn our lives to higher ways. Lift our gloom and desperation, show the promise of this day. Help us bind ourselves in union, help our hands to tell our love. With thy aid, O fount of justice, earth be fair as heaven above.
Thank you. Well, my Unitarian Universalist story begins in 2005 as I was graduating from Georgia Tech in Atlanta. Go Yellow Jackets. Now, where do you go to find a community of people after you graduate from college? Well, in the South, the answer was, at the time, you go to a church. But I grew up unchurched, and was one of the very few out atheists at my public high school in small town South Georgia. So I took the online Belief-O-Matic quiz, which still exists on the internet today, and it popped up Unitarian Universalist 100%. So I thought it had to be a joke, since what religion would ever agree with me 100% of the time? So I held off a year, I took it again, and when it popped up UU 100% again, I decided to research it this time. And the first thing I saw was that first principle of ours, where we respect the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Well, sign me up. It's the first time I heard a religion celebrating me instead of condemning me. Then after I started attending my first UU church, the UU Congregation of Atlanta, I learned a little about where those principles came from. They came from us regular folk. Our faith passed these principles as part of our UUA bylaws under Article 2, which lays out the purpose of the Unitarian Universalist Association. So I thought it was neat that we as a faith democratically decided on what to believe. And then I learned that there are prior versions of the principles, and that we as a faith last updated them really in the mid-1980s. It blew my mind that a denomination would do such a thing. How many churches regularly update their main statement of belief? It seemed mind-boggling to me. Well, now we fast forward through an event-filled decade, and from 2014 to 2019, I served in our denomination's governing board of trustees. I was one of 11 elected at-large trustees of the association that served on the UUA board. There was quite a lot that happened during my tenure on the board. For those who were around back then, yes, I was on the board during the Southern Regional Lead hiring controversy, when the UUA president resigned, and well, a whole bunch of other stuff happened. But that is a story and a reflection for another day. When I joined the board, I was asked to be on the governance working group because of my degree in public policy, but more because I'm a pretty big geek who actually reads things. So true story, I was also the financial secretary, which is like chair of the finance committee of the UUA board, my last 2 years, because according to the UUA treasurer, I was the only one who read the audits and asked questions about them, which made me worried for my other trustees. So as a result of being the chair of the governance working group, I had to know those UUA bylaws backward and forward. Not very exciting stuff, if I'm being honest. But that's where our story really begins. Because as I was reading the bylaws with my governance hat on, I realized our denomination hadn't been following, specifically Article 15, Section 6 of the UUA bylaws, which reads, quote, if no study process of Article 2 has occurred for a period of 15 years, the Board of Trustees shall appoint a commission to study Article 2 for not more than 2 years, and to recommend appropriate revisions, if any, thereto to the Board of Trustees for inclusion on the agenda of the next regular General Assembly. A mouthful, right? But we were well past due for this sort of commission to study Article 2. It had been quite a bit longer than 15 years. So I brought it up during a board meeting and flagged it as a process we needed to get started. And just as I was resigning from the UUA board, the board was putting together the Article 2 Study Commission, the members, and the charge. So I want to talk a little bit about this process, because in the end, I think this process is one of the things that defines us as Unitarian Universalists and makes us different from other faiths. So from the Article 2 Study Commission explaining the history. The Article 2 Study Commission convened in the fall of 2020, developing a shared understanding of its charge developed by the Board of Trustees in consultation with the 2018 and 2019 General Assemblies, the history of Article 2 and the study process. In the spring of 2021, the Study Commission began hosting theological panel discussions with surveys to gain an understanding of the values and sources of inspiration shared among Unitarian Universalists. At General Assembly 2021, the commissioners introduced the Article 2 study process in a general session and engaged attendees in focus groups. Focus groups, individual interviews, and surveys continued through the winter and spring of 2022. Draft language was prepared and shared during the general sessions at the 2022 General Assembly, which is like our denomination's annual governance meeting. Focus groups and surveys were used to collect feedbacks on those drafts. In the fall of 2022, the Article 2 Study Commission, via their outreach team, held feedback sessions and surveys on different drafts of Article 2, each draft informed by previous feedback sessions and surveys. At the end of that feedback cycle, the Article 2 Study Commission submitted its recommendation for a new Article 2 to the Board of Trustees in January of 2023. So a few changes, a few edits were made from that. But at this past June at our General Assembly, the UUA voted for a second year in a row to approve the new Article 2, and it has formally passed. So I want to pause and lift that up. We as a faith used a democratic process to update our denomination's core statement of belief over the summer. And we're supposed to do that on a regular 15-year basis, because we're a faith that believes we are always changing and always evolving. Can we take a moment and just appreciate how unique and special that really is among faiths, especially faiths in Oklahoma? Now, yes, that means those principles like the inherent worth and dignity of every person that you know by heart have changed into values. In fact, they're the very same values we just shared as part of that bag blessing earlier. What a coincidence, right? We'll get back to those new values in a minute. I know there's more than one of you right now who are sad to hear about the principles being changed. For some of you, the principles are either why you became a UU or why you're still a UU. And those feelings you have are valid. Well, the good news is that those principles aren't really going anywhere. We are not going to sneak into your homes and burn any copies of the old principles lying around. You can absolutely still keep them as a core part of your personal belief system. But we have to be careful with our old principles, and we have to be careful with our new values too. Because, as Parker would say, they're transient. In a world that is so uncertain all the time, I know it's comforting to see our principles as the bedrock of our complicated and hard to explain UU faith. But our faith existed long before those principles. Indeed, some of you in this very room remember when the UU principles were introduced in the mid-1980s. And our faith will exist long after these values have been replaced by some new wording a couple of decades in the future, because they're transient. They're the words to describe our UU faith, but they aren't actually our UU faith. As Parker said, the one is the thought, the folly, the uncertain wisdom, the theological notions, the impiety of man. The other, the eternal truth of God. More attention is commonly paid to the particular phenomena than to the general law. So in this case, more is generally given to the transient in Christianity than to the permanent therein. So I want to read another quote from Parker's sermon again that you heard just a little bit ago. But this time I want you to hear it a little bit differently. I want you to think of the UU principles and values as the transient and the modern day form of our faith. It must be confessed, though with sorrow, that transient things form a great part of what is commonly taught as religion. An undue place has often been assigned to forms and doctrines, while too little stress has been laid on the divine life of the soul, love to God and love to man. Religious forms may be useful and beautiful. They are so whenever they speak to the soul and answer a want thereof. In our present state, some forms are perhaps necessary, but they are only the accident of Christianity, not its substance. They are the robe, not the angel, who may take another robe quite as becoming and useful. Our principles were, and our new values are, indeed, quite useful and beautiful. I find the new Article 2 extremely beautifully written, and it speaks to me even more so than the principles did. These words can speak to our souls, and that is important and beautiful to lift up. But they are just words. They are just transient words that point to the eternal core of our faith. So what do you think those words point to? What do our words point to at the center? What do you think is the core of our UU faith? Just pause for a brief moment and reflect on that. In your humble opinion, what is core to UU and what is transient? Words are not our UU faith. They help point to what the UU faith is. That UU faith is seen here in the connections we make with each other. That UU faith is seen here in the ways we help each other in the ways that we can. That UU faith is seen here when we give up our privilege to stand for others. That UU faith is seen here when we teach our children they are loved exactly for who they are. And that UU faith is seen here when we celebrate people for who they really are inside. It seems like to me, whatever words we choose point us to a center of love at the UU faith. Love for ourselves, love for our blood family, love for our chosen family, love for our church community, love for our wider community. Love is the eternal, and how we describe that love is transient, because words evolve over time, and our understanding of that core love evolves over time too. Now, although the words we pick are only transient, they do give us new insight into both the UU faith and our own personal faith as we reflect and consider them. So all throughout this upcoming year, we're going to be exploring our new Article 2 and this new manifestation of how we define our faith. We'll explore them in worship, in adult RE classes and discussions, and in our children and youth religious exploration classes in chapels as well. So I want to close with reading to you from the new values of our faith. This is the section of Article 2 that is a restating of the older UU principles, and it's called Values and Covenant. As Unitarian Universalists, we covenant congregation to congregation and through our association to support and assist one another in our ministries. We draw from our heritages of freedom, reason, hope, and courage, building on the foundation of love. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. Inseparable from one another, these shared values are interdependence. We honor the interdependent web of all existence. With reverence for the great web of life and with humility, we acknowledge our place in it. We covenant to protect Earth and all beings from exploitation. We will create and nurture sustainable relationships of care and respect, mutuality and justice. We will work to repair harm and damaged relationships. Pluralism. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. We covenant to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. Justice. We work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all thrive. We covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. We support the use of inclusive democratic processes to make decisions within our congregations, our association, and our society at large. Transformation. We adapt to the changing world. We covenant to collectively transform and grow spiritually and ethically. Openness to change is fundamental to our Unitarian and Universalist heritages, never complete and never perfect. Generosity. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, presence, and resources. Our generosity connects us to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality. Equity. We declare that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion. We covenant to use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. Now, I think that's beautiful. And that calls to something deep within me. 100% UU indeed. Now, if you're interested in seeing the new Article 2, we have copies on the little table in the hallway out there in front of Daniel Hall. You're welcome to grab one, keep it, read through it. You can get it tattooed somewhere if you want, no judgment. But rest assured that after this upcoming year, you'll have plenty of time to reflect on the new Article 2 in our new set of values. So what would our eminent theologian Theodore Parker think right now about these new Article 2 values? I think he would be pretty excited that as a faith, we keep in mind the transient and the permanent still to this day. I think he would absolutely love that we as a faith, on a regular schedule, take a look at our words and see if they still best reflect our core. So I want to encourage you to take this frame from Parker and run with it. What else in your life is transient versus permanent? For example, right now, we're in a period of ministerial transition. But ministers don't make the church. As religious professionals, we know it's not our church, it's your church. Ministers are transient. So what is the permanent here at First Unitarian Church? Is it the connections we make? Is it you, the membership of our congregation? Is it love? What things did you once think were permanent in your life? Say something like gender identity or sexuality, but they turned out to be transient. A fair number in you in this room have likely changed your religious identity from when you were a child. How has your faith been transient? What part of your faith has been permanent throughout life? What problems did you face at the time that felt permanent, but now years later you can see were actually transient? And vice versa. When did you think something was transient but turned out to be permanent? All right, maybe don't ask your spouse or life partner that last question. Hope, love, joy. May these be the permanent, both within Unitarian Universalism and within our personal lives. Thank you. And now please join us in singing hymn number 368, Now Let Us Sing. You can rise in body or in spirit. Now there are two parts to this song. So if you sing a little lower, you're going to follow Ellie's part. Now let us sing, 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 sing.
Now let us sing.
Yeah, there we go. And if you sing a little higher, you're going to follow Becky. You must
Sing to the joy of the... Yeah.
Sing to the power of the love within. You'll be doing that part, okay? And you can feel free to pick whichever part you feel like doing. Frankly, no one's going to grade you or judge you. All right?
Now let us sing,
Sing to the power of the
sing,
faith
sing.
within.
Now let us sing,
Sing to the power of the
sing,
faith
sing.
within.
Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Now let us sing, sing, sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Now let us sing, sing, sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the faith within.
Now we will extinguish our chalice. We extinguish our chalice flame, but not the light of love and community which burns in our hearts.
And our benediction today comes from Theodore Parker. Be ours a religion which, like sunshine, goes everywhere. Its temple, all space, its shrine the good heart, its creed all truth, its ritual works of love, its profession of faith divine living. Thank you and have an amazing week, everybody.